Good evening, and thanks for joining tonight's TI Technology webinar hosted by Texas Instruments. Tonight we're going to focus on the Nspire and how you can level up your classroom math game. My name is Mike Houston. I'm the moderator for this event. I teach algebra and calculus near Pittsburgh, where I use TI technology to make tough to teach, tough to learn concepts accessible to all my students. And I'm excited to be joined by our two panelists tonight, Monique Mays and Dr. Yolanda Parker. Monique is a seasoned math educator with 27 years of experience in the Texas public school system. She currently teaches Algebra 2 and upper level math to juniors and seniors at M.R. Woods Center for Learning, Fort Bend's ISD Alternative High School. A former K-12 math technology integration specialist and active T-Cubed community member, Monique is passionate about blending technology, relationships, and rigor in the classroom. She was honored as Fort Bend ISD's 2025 Secondary Teacher of the Year and has presented on impactful teaching practices across the state. And she has some technical difficulties right now that we're sorting out, and we hope to have her on really soon. Yolanda is entering her 30th year as an educator and is now faculty at Tarrant Community College South Campus in Fort Worth, where in the math department, she primarily teaches statistics and math for teachers courses. Yolanda is on the TCTM and North Texas CTM boards as the co-author for the Engaging in Culturally Relevant Math Tasks, Fostering Hope books. She's been a T-Cubed instructor since 2024, working with teachers and students in Gear Up schools in the DFW or Dallas-Fort Worth area. And in 2024, she was recognized by TCTM as the recipient of the E. Glenadine Gibb Achievement Award. She is happily married to her favorite jazz saxophonist, Claude Parker, and proud boy mom to Claude Jr. So Yolanda, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So we'll be using that chat window to send general messages. So feel free to ask any questions using a chat window. We'll try to get those questions answered live. Without further ado, Yolanda, feel free to share your screen and we'll try to get Monique on here.
Okay. Put my glasses on here. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, so welcome, and I'm so excited that you all have joined us this evening, and fingers crossed that Monique overcomes her challenges with getting on. And we are going to talk to you about leveling up in algebra. So that's Algebra 1 and 2 with the TI-Nspire. And so our goals are to enhance Algebra 1 and 2 concepts using the TI-Nspire, transform math anxiety into confidence, explore ready-to-use classroom strategies. And with that, we will share some activities that are available on the TI website, and we'll also walk you through just some calculator strategies that are independent of an activity. And then you will also have access to those files. I'll show you how to find them if you're not familiar with that, but we also have links to the actual activities. And so we're leveling up our math game. And so Monique and I were kind of playing around with this topic, and we're using gaming themes. And over the summer, I have been using Duolingo to learn Spanish. And so I was all into the XP and the bonuses and the quests and all that kind of thing. So bear with us with our gaming theme. But we have our introduction. The first part of our session will be on Algebra 1 boosters. Our next part will be on Algebra 2 quests. And then we have the bonus round, and then the final round where we will have you sharing out. And then the bonus, which pertains to you most immediately, Michael will have a webinar drawing. So do they need to be present to win? They need to stay to the end, right, Michael? we'll just say you need to stay to the end, but I'll let Michael, he'll explain all of that at the end. And so as you all were logging on, we have a poll that's going, and it looks like it's an even number who understand the Nspire but haven't used it in the classroom, and understand and use frequently. But I'm going to lump in the no clue people, and so that's just helping us to know how much to go into the basics, which we will, and Monique is going to give you an overview of the calculator. And the no clue people, I was right along with you all up until about 2 years ago when I went through the TI teacher leader cadre, and I forced myself to learn the Nspire. And so if you would have asked me 2 years ago if you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be doing an Nspire webinar, I definitely would have laughed in your face. So the no clue people, I am right there with you. And the no clue and understand but haven't used in the class, numbers are increasing. And so, like I said, that gives us an idea of who our audience is. And some of you have been putting in the chat where you're from and everything. And so thank you for that. But here's an opportunity for everyone to enter something into the chat. Please share your algebra superpower. So what is your mathematical strength? So if you have access to the chat, type in the chat, what is your mathematical strength? Ooh, I see graphing. Geometry. Ooh, factoring. Very nice. And I have a factoring activity. Statistics. Yes, I teach statistics. So here I found my people. Okay. Math problem solving. All right, so keep them coming. Is that perfect timing? That is perfect timing, co-presenter Monique. We have a lot of people where their math superpower is factoring. I'm seeing a lot of statistics people, but I overwhelmingly saw a lot of people with factoring. So just to catch you up with the poll, there were a large number of people who answered no clue or know the Nspire but haven't used it with their students. So
Okay, great. Can you hear me, Yolanda?
I can.
Wonderful. Sorry about that. My computer decided to do what it wanted to do. You know how that goes. But I saw factoring and all that come up as they were putting in the chat. Thank you guys for that.
Okay. And so now, like I said, that was perfect time. It's
Wonderful. Look at God.
so it's okay. There we go. So that was perfect timing. So would you like to take control? Or you want me to drive?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
So, since a lot of you said that you don't have a clue or you've not used Inspire a lot, if you think of the Inspire more like a computer, it kind of functions more like a computer than a calculator, which you standardly think of. It may help your brain to shift in how to work with this. And so, this top red section that you see circled or boxed in, those function just like computer keys that you see on the keyboard. You have your escape, you have home or on, documents, menu. Those function very much like you see on a computer keyboard, tab, and all the sorts. And so the next little section right there function a lot like your calculator keys. Your 84s, just you see, they're your numeric keys, they're your operations, they're your exponents, your trig functions, everything like that. In that section, you do see that blue control button. Anything in the calculator that is written in blue, you first have to push that blue control button first, and then the other button. It's like it's a secondary function. And the last section has a keyboard there at the bottom. It is alphanumeric, so it's alphabetical. I mean, sorry, not alphanumeric. It's in alphabetical order. And so when you need to type things or whatever, and when you need X, it's down there in gray at the very bottom. So it's kind of positioned in 3 different parts, and each part functions like you might think. Okay, so the next part. So there are some shortcuts. First and foremost, the menu button is the key to the Nspire calculator. Any action you want to do on the handheld, you can always go through the menu button. You push menu, you find other choices, it leads you to other menus. All the things can go through the menus. But there are several quick keys or shortcuts that we'll quickly get to. So another button that's important is the escape button. It's like my best friend. You can't mess up. If you push escape, it will exit you out of the menu. Let's say you chose the wrong one. You want to go back, you push escape. The next one. Or you can undo. Like on a computer, you mess up, you hurry up and push undo. So you do that by pushing Control Escape, or you push Control Z. Just like on a computer, Control Z is a shortcut to undo things. It's the same thing on the calculator. All those shortcuts that you can use on a computer also work here on this Nspire handheld. Okay, tab functions a lot like a computer. It will jump you through the different fields on the screen. So you want to go from here to here, you push tab, it'll get you to the next section. Tab will get you to the next line. Control C is copy. So Control C, Control V will be paste, just like on a computer. And then Control X is cut. And then we do have how you insert documents. So in the Nspire, there's kind of 2 worlds. There's a sketchpad world and there's a document world. Document, again, is like computer documents. So you can have like a calculator, you can have a document with a calculator page or a graphing page or a list and spreadsheets page. If you want a new page in your document, you push Control Doc, and then it will ask you what type of page you want to insert into your document. Okay.
And I recently learned that Control I will do the same thing.
Ah, very nice.
So it's intuitive, I for insert.
Right.
All right. So do you want to share your screen for the next part?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'll stop sharing my screen, and while she's doing that, I see that we have in the room several Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 teachers, as well as pre-calculus. I'm glad to see that there's pre-calculus and calculus teachers on here as well, because some of the things that we share, if your students have some gaps along the way when they get to you, hopefully these activities will help fill the algebra gaps that your students may have. So thank you for being here.
Okay. It says that the poll has to close, and then I can change the presenter.
Okay.
Perfect. Let's see here. All right. So here we go. Just some things that you can do in Algebra 1 on the Nspire. So like I said, you start off at your home screen. You guys can see my screen, right? Yolanda?
Yes. You
Okay.
have page 1.1?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you start off on your home screen, and you can, well, 1 second, okay. So you can add a page, like I said. So just very quickly, if we add a calculator page, it looks like this. And we can do some very simple arithmetic, things of that sort that our students need support with. And then I'm going to show you where there's a lot of templates that we can use. Sorry. Okay. Here in this button, right next to the 9, is a templates button. And so there are all these templates that use like math type, just like you would see on your computer. So if I wanted to do a fraction or an exponent or a root, or this is be of course square root and then the nth root, any root I want, e to any power, the logarithms. So these right here, these two with the commas are for gosh, the name just escaped my head. Piecewise function. Yes. And so this very first one will have 2 pieces. This one that says 3, when you click it, it will actually ask you how many pieces do you have. So it's not just 3, it's however many you adjust. These 2 are for systems. So here again, this last one will always ask you how many do you have. You can see the matrices right here. The last one will ask you how many rows and how many columns you have. So again, if I wanted to do a fraction, I could just click on that. And I would type in like 1/2 plus, now what's important, I don't know if you noticed, the cursor stays in the bottom of the fraction. So I have to arrow over to get out of the fraction to like type in +3. And then it will give me my answer in fraction form. If I would like to change that to like decimal form, then I can push control, and right above the enter, you see the approximation symbol in blue. So I press control and then enter, and it will change my answer to a decimal form. You also have other buttons over here. Here are the same ones. You can push control right above divide. You see that fraction template right there. So remember we talked about shortcuts. You can push control divide and the fraction form shows up there again.
And I want to chime in something. When we're in the teacher software, you can see that control has been pressed. When you're on your calculator, when you press control, you'll see CTRL at the top of the screen to make sure that you have pressed it.
Thank you for that. What I was saying earlier is everything goes to the menu buttons here. So if I have a menu and I want to do some number things, you can see I have that's also where I can convert it to a decimal there. So I don't have to remember control enter. Everything can go through the menu. Let's say I didn't want to do number. If I press escape, then it takes me back. Maybe I want to do some algebra, some solving systems, some solving equations. Numerical solve is something that you can use with students to solve equations, or to check is really what I would use it for, versus just randomly solving equations. So let's say I wanted to solve 2x plus 10 equals, let's go with 28. I type in my equation as I have it, and then I have to tell the calculator what is my variable. So I push comma x, and then I push enter, and it tells me the answer to that is 9. So where I find this helpful in the class, some teachers think, oh, it's just giving answers. I don't go with that, because I will give my students the answers. What's important to me is the work that they show me to get there. And so instead of me having to go around and check every student's work while I can help other students, or them asking me, Miss, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? I show them this as a way to check their answers and know if they're right, and they don't have to ask me. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay. And then on here, I'm trying to make sure I cover all the things really quick that I wanted to cover. Over here, you have your x squared, your square root. Oh, sometimes you want to check inequalities, right? Or you want to see if it's correct. So maybe they did their work and they want to see, is 9 the correct answer? I can press 2 parentheses 9, because I think that my x is 9, and do plus 10. And then there's an equal button right here, right next to the trig button, right under control. And I can push equal 28, and the calculator will tell me true or false. So it's true that x would be 9. This does work. If I wanted to see greater than, less than, because maybe I'm doing inequalities and I want to see, is 9 a solution? Then I can do the same thing. But here's a nice thing. I can arrow up and highlight what I want, And then if I push enter, it will copy down, and and then I can just go back and kind of fix up what I want. So this time I'm going to push control equal so that I can get the inequality menu here. And maybe I want to know if it's greater than 28. So I can see if 9 is a solution to this. And I push enter and it tells me false because it's equal. But if I had pushed greater than or equal to, you will see that I should get true this time. Okay. So those are all there. One other thing is you can store a variable. So again, still working with the same equation. If I think that 9 is X, I can say 9, and I push control variable because right above variable it says STO. Control store that into X. The calculator says, okay, X is 9. And so when I go and push 2X, notice my X looks different. The original X was kind of italicized, not bold. This X, once I have it stored and the computer recognizes it or the calculator recognizes it as something that you have defined, it will stand like straight and it will be bold. So now I have 2X plus 9 equals 28, and it will evaluate it in the same manner as me typing in 9 for the equation. Actually, I typed that wrong. Oh, that's why it says false. All right, I should have put 10, but it evaluated it correctly nonetheless. The other thing I want to quickly show is graphs on here really quick. So I'm going to add in a page, Control Doc, and I'll add in a graphs page. Okay. And so if I want a graph, you saw at first when I put it up there, there was a line for me to enter my equation. If that goes away, again, I can always go through the menu button and I'll go graph entry. And what I want to enter is a function. And so when I do that, I just type in whatever equation I like. So maybe 1/2 x minus 4. And it will graph it right there for me. Now, when I'm on this page, I can do lots of things. I can grab and move this if I need to. I can, when I'm thinking about transformations, I can reference that same one. So I push tab to make the equation line come up again, or I could go to the menu button like I just showed you a second ago. And I can refer to that same variable that we just talked about. So maybe I want to know, what does it look like to do 2 times that same function, right? So 2, and again, it stores all my variables here, or I can use the keyboard to type it in. So if I push the variable button, you see I have a F1. So I'm wondering, what does 2 times F1 of X look like? What does it look like to multiply that whole function by 2? How does it affect my graph? So I can just refer to that graph. And then I see that happen right there. And then I can make some observations. This would be something you can do with students. What happens if you multiply by 3? What happens if you multiply by 4? And so and then the beauty of referring to F1 is whenever I change F1, so if I push tab and arrow up, just kidding, tab and arrow up, if I change F1 to, let's say now we're doing quadratics because we're in second semester. If I change it, then both of them change accordingly, and I can see if it has the same effect. Okay. The other great thing about graphs is through the menu button, if you trace, right, I can graph trace. And when I go left and right, just like I would on any other calculator, you see my cursor moving. And when it gets to 0, it tells you this is the 0. When it gets to here, it tells you, hey, here's your y-intercept. But if I wanted to know a specific value, let's say I wanted to know x when x is equal to 5, what would that be? I can simply just press 5 and then enter, and it will jump to that part of my screen. So you see my cursor's up here. Here's my answer down here at the bottom when x is 5, y is 8.5. So if you don't know what to do when you push these features, you see this little button here in the corner. If you hover, it will tell you exactly what to do. The directions are there, so you kind of can't mess up. It will keep doing whatever you've pushed until you push escape. So now you notice that that little box is not there. There's one last thing, and then Yolanda, I'm gonna turn it right back over to you, okay? Analyze graph has all the things you're used to on your regular 84 if you're an 84 user. You go to analyze graph. If you go to say intersection, we want to know where these two graphs that ask for the lower bound. So I just put my little dotted line to the left and I scroll across and I put it to the right and it tells me my intersection is negative 2.83. Okay. So Yolanda, I'll shift it back to you so you can share some activities from our Nspired website that they can do with students to help really solidify some of the conceptual things, not just the button pushing of the calculator.
Okay, I love it. And going back to the survey from earlier, the no clue and the I know but haven't used it with students, what I guess you could say forced me to use these activities with students to use the calculator with students was that I found activities. And in preparation, I'm sorry, I'm using a new computer and just realized that now all of a sudden my computer has two screens when it was just showing one earlier. So we're just having some technology gremlins going on today. All right, so I don't want to share. I'm just gonna go to the website and then I'll go to the to the
Okay.
PowerPoint. So here we go. I am going to put this website in chat that I'm going to. That's not the screen. I want to share my whole screen. Help me out, Mike. It's not. Oh, there we go. Okay, never mind. I don't need you, Mike. Sorry. I just kidding. The page where I am, I just dropped it into chat, and I was glad to see that there are some middle grades teachers on this webinar, because this is just the middle grades. But as I mentioned earlier, we all know that sometimes our students, and especially since the pandemic, sometimes our students don't come with all of the skills that they necessarily need, even in pre-calculus or even in calculus. And so this is a good resource for you to come up with to find some activities to help with filling in those gaps. So the activity that I am going to share right now is visualizing linear expressions. And this is something that I am going to use with my students this semester, my college algebra students. And what I like about it, and just to give you an idea of how the activities are if you've never used one, the activities, when you download them, they are a TNS file. So when you click on the activity, you'll see a video that shows you how the activity is supposed to work. Good idea to click on that, because sometimes I'll go straight into the activity and it's not quite as self-explanatory as you would like. So you click on the video to see how it's going to, how it's supposed to work. Even though you may come up with some modifications. And then the zip drive includes a PDF of the student document and the teacher document, as well as an editable Word version of the student document and the teacher document, and the TNS file. So the TNS file is how you can download from your computer onto the calculator to do the actual activity. And then once you have the activity, there are notes pages. And so a few minutes ago, if you create your own activity, like you get to the level 3 and level 4 people who are here who are using the Nspire with their students, and you're creating your own activities or modifying them, then you can insert a note page to give students instructions. But this activity already has the instructions there. And so it tells you how to maneuver. And I'm not going to go through the whole activity, but what I liked about this is the visualization of the distributive property, because you can tell students all day long that they are multiplying, distributing the 4 throughout the parentheses. But for a visual learner, this is wonderful for that. And also, students learn FOIL when they get into their algebra sequence, and forget about the distributed. Some students, I'll say some students, not every student. There are some students who learn and retain everything we teach them, and I love them for that. But the ones that need an extra amount of love, you want to have some different versions of reminders for them. And so I try not to just focus on FOIL, but to focus on the distributive property. And so what I like about this is that it shows that we're multiplying. We have 4 rows of 2 of something, so it's circles. And we also have 4 rows of 3 of something. It's the squares. And you can change the number of circles, you can change the number of squares, and you can also change the number of rows. So you can have different versions of your distributive property, your expression. And then when you click on the values, it is giving you 4 circles plus 2 squares. And then you have 3 rows of 4 times 5 circles, 2 times 2 squares. And so just breaking it down step by step for the students to clearly understand what's going on with the distributive property. And then the activity goes on, and you have an area model. So they have the discrete model with the circles and the squares, and then we have this continuous model or this area model, but it's the same idea. So you can change the number of columns for the first one and the number of columns for the second number, and you can also, I forgot which button, and I'm sure it said it in the previous page. There's something you click on.
Try the orange one.
There we go. Thank you. All
You
right.
got it.
Process of elimination. Thank you. Problem solver. Tell my son all the time, you are such a good problem solver. All right. So orange will change the number of rows. Pink will change the first number of columns, and blue changes the second number of columns. And so they're able to see it more abstract, because you don't know how many columns you have. You just know you have X columns. And so they see the different dimensions too. So it's X columns and 6 columns. And then they'll see that this X plus 6 isn't something that just came out of thin air. And for those of you who have been teaching for a while, or you were always a math person, maybe you never question, where does X plus 6 come from? But for a student who thinks that it was math magic, they can see, oh, it was X of these and 6 of these. That's why it's X plus 6. So you don't have to explain anything. And then also you are answering questions that maybe you didn't even know students had by doing an activity like this.
And it goes back to probably how they learned multiplication with the area model in elementary school.
Exactly.
That's a nice connection.
So squishing 2 rectangles together. All right, so that is oh, and so with this part of the activity, they have the option of using a unit, some arbitrary number s, some arbitrary number s plus 1, and s plus 2. And what they're trying to do is fill in the border of this square. So some students may fill in the s's, and then they'll see, oh, that's 1s in the corners. Okay, and that's not. Okay, there we go. It's not cooperating. Go in that corner. It's not going in the corner. But as you are filling in the objects, it's giving you an expression. 4s plus, it should be It's not working. But we're math people, we know what it's supposed to be. So that's how some students may do it. But you may have a student who goes straight to the S+2. So let's say they do it like this. Well, it's hanging off of the edge. And so if, let's see if that little corner is going to work. It worked this time. If a student fills in the border like this is over because that little part is hanging and it's giving them the expression that matches this. But if I'm not selecting orange, I'm selecting pink. Okay. So if a student just wants to use all pink, let's say pink is their favorite color, and some students choose things sometimes I think, oh wow, that was really insightful, and they're just like, oh, I just like pink. Okay, whatever works. But now you see the expression, and so instead of it being 4 S's plus 4 units, we have 4 S+1s, and so this is showing equivalent expressions in this part of the activity. So I encourage you all to play around with that, but I'm looking at the time and there are a couple more activities that I wanted to show you all. And Monique, did you have anything that you would like to add as
I'm just wondering, do you have the teacher notes or the student page up just so they can get a quick look at what that looks like? So you can just show them that real quick.
Thank you very much. So here is the teacher notes for the visualizing linear expressions. I don't have the student page up, but what I like about the teacher page, oh, I'm sorry. Close your eyes if you have vertigo. I have vertigo, so I'm sensitive to that. What I like about the teacher page is that it usually shows either what you would ask the students, some sample responses, or it would show exactly what is on the, it shows you the questions that are on the student page. And so you don't have to print off a teacher and a student page. You would have what the students would have. And so for all of the activities, unless it's one where there are a few activities in here where you are creating them from scratch, but for the most part, you have a student version and a teacher version, and it's very helpful with the notes, discussion points. If you use a navigator system, they may even give you sample quick poll questions that you could ask. It's really a lot of information um, that's provided. And I would suggest to not let it overwhelm you if you're using it for the first time. And I'm speaking from experience. I know my students, I know my time constraints, I know what it is that I want to accomplish. And so you cater it to your needs. And the teacher document and the student document both come in PDF and Word. And so you can edit them to fit whatever it is that you need. Right. Anything else?
No, I think you showed, like right there, it even shows here's some class discussion questions. I saw one was a tech tip. So if you're worried about the technology, like she said, because most of you said you don't have a lot of experience, it kind of says this is all you need to know for this activity. Like if you scroll up a little bit, there was a blue box I saw right there. This is the technology tips you need: how to access it, how to cycle through, activates a certain button, and resets the page. But the kids are so quick with this, you guys. You just tell them, hey, we're learning this kind of together. They'll figure out stuff and tell you how to do it.
They will. Now I work with adult learners, and so some of them kind of avoid it like the plague, but I know the babies or say, hey, miss, you can do this. So open yourself up for that vulnerability. I had to make myself vulnerable, even with my adult learners in doing this. And I am so excited that I did that. I want to make sure that I am keeping up with where we are supposed to be, especially for the purpose of people who may be watching this on demand. Okay. And so now we're at the level 3 Algebra 2 quest.
Okay, there's a question in the chat, Yolanda, if you don't mind answering that while I start the Algebra 2 quest. So I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so there was a question about accessing the document. All right, so at the end of the webinar, everything that all the activities that I'm covering, Michael has a copy of them and he will provide them for you. But when you go to the website that I sent you to, whenever you click on, you have to click on the activity. And when you click on the activity, you'll see a link to all of the files. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, so here very quickly, I'm going to show you a couple things that may relate to Algebra 2 from the calculator page. So again, like I was saying before, if you think of this more like a computer, so a lot of times students will just keep adding pages and pages and pages and they don't even realize it. Like I was saying, here's your home screen. They love to go to the Scratchpad because they see calculate and graph, but realistically, you should have them working in documents. Scratchpad is meant to be more like Scratch paper. There are some features that you cannot access in the Scratchpad that you can within the documents. So they'll add pages and pages and pages, and when they're in the document, you will see like I'm on page 2, but you'll see there'll be like 1.63. They're on page 63, and they're wondering why things are not working. It's because those variables are getting carried over and over and over throughout all the pages. So I train the students to just go, when you turn your calculator on, go to the home screen, and let's start with a new document. It's going to ask me, do I want to save whoever's worked before me? The answer is always no, because I don't know what they did. Let's start fresh. And so if I am here, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the graphs and here. So I'm going to add a graphs page. And something we do in Algebra 2 is maybe exponentials, right? So 3 to the x power. And so there is my graph there. What I didn't show you guys earlier was how to bring up a table. It's important to know how to graph, but it's also important to know how to do a table. So everything again is in the menu button. And I see when I push menu, I have 7, which is table. Also, menu is the menu is catered to what application you're in, what type of page you put. So when I'm in the graphs page, it will only show me things that I should do within a graphs page. If I'm on a calculator page, I will have other ones. If you remember back when I was doing the calculator one earlier, they had one about number and algebra. Notice that that's not here because I'm not in a calculator page. So I will choose 7 for table. It says, do you want a split screen table? And so I say, yes, let's do that. And there is my table. The shortcut for that, I don't know if you saw it when I pushed menu and went to table. See how it says Control T in parentheses? That is the shortcut. So quick and easy, T for table. That will toggle it on and off as I go on the screen and off the screen. And so one thing we do a lot of in Algebra 2 is inverse functions, right? And so I can, if I go to pull up a screen, another line so I can type, and then I backspace, right? I can pull up a relation. And what I can type, because we know with inverse, what we do is flip-flop the X and Y, right? So I can type X equals F1, and I'm literally just using the keys on the thing, F1 of Y. And when I type that in, the inverse function shows up. Again, the beauty in referencing the F1 is if I ever go back and change F1, the graph, well, I have to go menu graph entry so that I can get back to the functions. I'm too far. Let me back up. Nope, don't want to be there. Okay. 3 for graph entry, 1 for function. If I go back up and change the F1 to a different function, let's say this time we're studying cubics. So I type in x to the 3rd power. My inverse also changed. 2 other things on the Nspire. You can click and grab. This is like a mouse in the middle. So when you have an open hand, you can grab. Notice how that's stacked and it says label and it says tab. If I press tab, it will cycle through which one do you actually want to grab. So that's kind of like stacked up. I don't like that all there. So I can just grab it and move it. to where I wanted to move it on the screen to make it less jumbled, right? The other thing I can do, let's say it didn't fit on my window. Again, everything is through menu. I can go window, and then I can change the window settings like I normally would on any other calculator. But what I really like about this is I see my max and mins here, and my max and mins here. So I could just double click, and let's say maybe I really wanted to zoom in a little bit more, and I make that 5 and enter, and it adjusts accordingly. -5, enter, same thing. And then my scale, instead of 0.2, maybe I still want to count by ones, so I can adjust it that way. Those of you that teach like upper level, like your pre-calcs and your calculus, or if your friends do, if they wanted to change the scale to count by like pi halves, then I can push the pi button, divide, pi, actually click it, okay, divide 2, and it will count by pi halves. If you have a CAS version of this calculator, it will actually show the symbolism pi over 2 versus the decimal approximation. Inverses are important. You can see if they reflect across the line y equals x. I can even put that in there, y equals x, and you can see that it reflects. If I pull up my table, I should have opposite x and y values there. Notice it's only showing my F1, but if I go over, oh, it's only showing that. I forgot. You cannot show a table for a relation, so it will not show, it will only show a table for a function. So it's not going to show the table for my inverse because I did it as a relation.
And there was a question.
I'm sorry, say it again.
There was a question in the chat about tables. Michael answered it about, do you have to show tables in a split screen?
Okay, yes and no. I believe that you start in a split screen. So let me show you. Okay, because it is small. That's a great question. But there's a way to split them. Okay, it's a secret little shortcut. Control 4 and Control 6. Control 6 will split them. Notice it's gone, but now we have a page 1.2. So when I click on 1.2, there's my table. If I wanted to make it back split screen, I could go to 1.1 and Control 4 will join them back together.
Thank you.
The other thing I will show just really quick, when I split them, if you notice, this table has a green border. And so on the home screen, all these are color coded. Notice the list and spreadsheets has a green border. So I could pull up a list in spreadsheets, and remember it stores my functions, right? So let me go back and show you what I mean. Here on this one, I'll go ahead and just put these back together. And then let's say I add in a page. Remember Control Doc, I will add a page. And lists and spreadsheets functions a lot like Excel on your computer. So if I go here to this and I go up, I believe I should be able to push, I believe I should be able to type it in. F1 of X should work. And I may have to put it in the, because I don't usually do it this way, just kidding. But I'm not going to waste everyone's time here. I believe you can maybe put it in one of these two, and it should do, and it will put the table here as well. Just try this one thing, and if not, then we'll figure it out and get back to you. I'm thinking this is not going to work. No, it didn't. Okay, but you can do it that way somehow. I just don't remember because I don't do it this way often. All right, and then if I add a calculator page, and I'm going to be done after this so you can show your last piece. Calculator page, we have things like sometimes you have to solve systems, right? So if I go to Algebra, there's polynomial tools and there's solve systems of equations. So if I go polynomial tools and I want to find roots and real roots and things of that sort. So let's say I go to a real roots, it'll ask you how many degrees. So depending on which one you're on, I'll just do 2 for the sake of time. And they ask me what's my A, my B, and my C basically. So maybe it's 1 and then 5 and then 6. And notice they're all pluses. So if you had a minus, you'd have to type in a negative. and I push OK. And it basically says, solve this equation for me for X. And it tells me my two roots would be -3 and -2. So those options are there. Matrices would be, you have all these matrix options. Once you enter your matrix, you can create them, transpose them, do all the things that you would do with your matrices. Remember I told you you can enter your matrices right here with your templates button. So you would choose one of these, enter it, and then you can do all the things you need to do with your matrix. And then I'll stop, Yolanda, so you can show your activity, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Very nice. And in these next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you 2 activities, but that's going to be possible because this first one, completing the square, am I sharing my screen? I am not.
No, not yet.
This completing the square activity, this is something that I am going to do in my pre-calculus class this fall. And what I like about it is it's reinforcing the idea of a square. And so I'll just real quick, they have x squared plus 4x. Well, I'll do 6x. And you're trying to complete that square. Just some little calculator manipulating tips. As I'm building my square, if I put the little rectangle a little to the right and a little below, it snaps in place. When I click on the end, it rotates the rectangle so that I can build this. And this is like, if you're familiar with algebra tiles, this works just like algebra tiles. So there's a couple of things that's going on. You have a value for X, and you have the equation when you substitute in X. 27 isn't a perfect square, but then when I literally complete the square, when I finish this off to look like a square, and of course you wouldn't do this as a demonstration. You would have class participation, class involvement, or they can even do it. You do one demonstration and then you give them some to do on their own. But what I like about this is that now it is a perfect square. When X is 3, this becomes 36. And what if X was 2? You still have a perfect square. But what if X is 1? You still have a perfect square. And so this is reinforcing the idea that completing the square means that you are forming a square. And then you can, trying to get that. Well, so then you can see the factors. So you can see that X squared plus 6X plus 9 gives you the factors X plus 3, X plus 3. So you have the option of turn that off and on. And this is just an exploration activity. This is it. This is the gist of the activity for them to explore with completing the square. And here there's teacher notes for that as well, and just giving you guiding questions to ask the students as they explore. But piggybacking off of the last activity that Monique did, there's one on factoring. So going in the other direction, factoring trinomials. And with this one, so we have X squared plus 6X plus 8. This also works like algebra tiles. And so you would add the tiles, and as you are adding tiles to the mat, you're also adding to the factors. Nope, I don't want it to be negative. So notice how it was negative and the tiles were red. And so that's similar to the algebra tiles where one side is one color and the other side is red for negative. So you could have blue for positive and the other side is red for negative, or you have yellow for positive or green for positive. So with this, white is the positive side and then red will be your negative side. And then they have the positive reinforcement to see if they are correct. And in the activity, these trinomials are randomly generated. Each student is going to have a different trinomial that comes up. And so in the document, they give you some for you to use as class discussion for the students to notice the patterns that you see with the B, or the coefficient of the X term, or the pattern that you see in the constant term, and then how the factors look. And so this is a set of trinomials, or you can use whatever's in your textbook, but this just gives you some so you don't have to search for any, for you to have class discussion. And then the students will have their own to play with. But then what I like at the end, the independent practice, is there are 3 levels of questions that they can work on. So you have something is where the x squared term is 1, and then you have level 2 where you have something other than 1 as the coefficient of the x squared term, and then you could have a positive or a negative one. And so it's more opportunities for them to get independent practice, and it also reinforces if they have, and this is very wrong, it was right for the last one that I was working on before this, but it gives them feedback, nope, and gives them feedback on what would be the correct answer. And so as I said at the beginning, I'm a recent Nspire convert. And so what I do is I try to use activities. I haven't so much used it as a calculator on a day-to-day basis, but I use activities to reinforce some concepts that I really want them to learn. So pre-calculus people, you're going to have my contact information. So there are some that I have been using in pre-cal that I really like. And so I try to add just 1 activity, maybe 2 a semester. And then I keep doing them just to ease myself into being a full-on Nspire guru like my co-presenter Monique is. But that is all that I have, and we are respectful of your time, and so I'm gonna stop there because I could go on, but I know there are some wrap-up things that Michael has, and so I will turn it over to him.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I know some people were just asking about, well, hey, I'm new to Nspire. Where can I go to just see some of the basics? And so if you hop over to our website, that's just one place you can go, education.ti.com, and go under educators, the educator tab, and then move to the bottom right there is tutorials. Whenever you click on that, whether you're an 84 user, an Nspire user, maybe you've just gotten a navigator system, there's some really great short videos here that you can watch to kind of pick up on things. But I think Monique had mentioned this early on as well. Whenever I had switched over to Nspire from 84, I didn't know a lot. I was very new to it, and my students were really excited about it. So I gave the calculators to them for a night and said, here, tomorrow teach me something. And they did. They all came back the next day super excited and taught me a lot. So that's another way to kind of do things as well.
Mike, there is a request for the tutorial page, so you're going to send the Education TI link?
Yep, I can put that in the chat right now.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. All right, so I just posted the link for the chat, or in the chat, of where you can get some of those tutorials on our website. We are giving away to one lucky winner a TI graphing calculator of their choice, and tonight's lucky winner is Rajesh Barnwall. So Rajesh, congratulations. Start thinking about which calculator you'd like to receive, and I'll be reaching out to you soon over email to get some information from you.
Awesome.
All right, to receive a certificate of attendance as well as a link for the documents for tonight, click the link or links in the chat window. If you miss these links for any reason, you'll automatically get a follow-up email in a couple days. That follow-up email will contain links to the recording so you can watch this at your own pace. the certificate and the documents as well. And if you're watching this on demand, copy that link into your favorite browser to receive your certificate. If you have any questions, maybe you're trying some of the tutorials and things aren't working, or you need help with something else TI related, feel free to give us a call, 1-800-TI-CARES, or drop us an email, ti-cares@ti.com. We'd love to hear from you. Huge thanks to Yolanda for her first Tuesday night webinar with us. Monique is now a seasoned veteran. So thanks so much, ladies, for everything you put together for tonight. And thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. We hope to see you back online next week. Have a great night.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Good night, everybody.